I thought that my life was over at a young age, but now I realize that it was just the beginning. My name is Tremell Thomas, and this is my testimony. I grew up in the city of New Haven, Connecticut. 5 sisters who loved and spoiled and protected me. I was always loved by my family. Both parents was in the house. Growing up, my mother would take us to church every Sunday. And Friday nights, we were in church, and we was always in church. And so at an early age, we had an understanding about God, but I had decided I did not want to follow him at a younger age. Growing up, I was above average student, and I loved playing sports after school, in the neighborhood. One of the things that I enjoyed the most was catching my father before he would leave for work. My father worked at a local gun factory in the town of New Haven, and so he worked the overnight shift. And so just meeting him before he left for work and showing him my grades and just spending time with him, you know, he was my childhood hero. We spent a lot of time together, my father and I. Though he drank a lot, I remember he would come home, and when he came home, I would be waiting for him, and he would sit down in his favorite chair and put his legs around me and squeeze me, and I would try to fight to get out. And so I remember those younger days with my father, and until one day, him and my mother would separate, and that would be devastating. My grades began to plummet. I began to just ignore teachers, began to disobey my mother, and I realized that my father not being in the home had really had an emotional impact on me, and I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't even know what to say, who to talk to, and I was hurting, and I never shared this with anyone. By keeping all this bottled up, I began to be angry and bitter, and it led me into the streets. It led me to start skipping school. I remember I would end up skipping my 3/4 of my freshman year of high school. I began to start smoking marijuana and getting high and drinking and just hanging out late nights. You know, I was emotionally just messed up, and I didn't know how to share this with anyone, that I was hurt, that my father was not home. And this led me into really a dark place in my life. But I remember during my sophomore year, freshman and sophomore year, I would meet a young lady who I would fall in love with, and we would begin to spend a lot of time, and this would cause me to start, you know, getting away from the streets and spending more time with her in my life. But then she would end up leaving me, and that would lead me back into the streets. I was angry and numb. Nothing mattered. I didn't even care, and I didn't think anyone else cared about me. I started using cocaine and all kinds of pills, going to parties late night, robbing, and just committing all kinds of violent acts. This caused me to go in and out of prisons. I remember going to Young Chester at a young age and locked up in Welly Avenue and different lockups. But I didn't stop. My mother would often constantly warn me about where I was headed and the things I was doing, but I didn't listen to her. I was what you call a knucklehead. One day she asked me to come into her room. She wanted to share something with me. She shared with me about a dream she had. I was caught in a whirlwind, and I was trying to get out of this whirlwind, but I couldn't get out. I remember leaving her bedside, but I continued to live that life of crime. And then one day, the unthinkable will happen. September 1987, I would rob and kill a man. I thought my life was over, but it was just the beginning.